Today's interview is with Steve Spangler of Spangler Science. You may not know his name or his company, but I'm sure you've heard of some of his inventions. And I won't tell you how many products he has because it will change from day to day. He's one of the most creative people that I know, and he'll combine, how about this thing and this thing? And then, oh my gosh, let's make it happen. And he went from science teacher to science guru product master. And he also teaches teachers how to engage their students. For example, I don't have kids, but I still find what he does amazing. So for St. Patrick's Day, there's this little thing you put on your faucet, so you turn it on and the water comes out green. How cool is that? So he has many, many things. I suggest you check it out, particularly if you want to get more creativity in your life. One of the things about Steve, by the way, he's on all sorts of different shows to share what are the new things he's doing with teachers and kids. One of the things I like about Steve is that he is humble. He is so approachable and generous because he is highly, highly successful in many different ways, yet he still takes the time to, to talk to me, right? So great person. Meet Steve Spangler.
I'm Jolene Jang, and I'm here with Steve Spangler, and you've heard of him because of the Mentos and Coke experiment.
I don't know why it would be. I checked the fire alarm. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm just a maintenance guy. So
yeah.
Now you understand why Mentos and Diet Coke, it puts out the fire.
Nice. So tell us about that. How did that come about?
Isn't that silly? So I was a science teacher, and we wanted to show kids years ago that there's bubbles in soda. Carbon dioxide. You could shake it and make it come out. You could drop something. We've all seen somebody put something in a glass of soda on the table and it overflows. And for many, many years, science teachers knew that if you took wintergreen lifesavers and dropped them into soda, it would erupt. It's because there's little tiny imperfections on the outside of a wintergreen lifesaver. It was just a mistake that the people who make lifesavers changed the size of that lifesaver so they didn't fit in the bottle perfectly. So we couldn't put them all on pipe cleaners like a little nerd fest, right? And drop them in. So Mentos, it started traveling around that, hey, I think Mentos would work pretty well. And they did, but nobody cared. And the real change with that was, and I had done it on television 3-4 times, and even contacted Perfetti Van Mel, the people who own Mentos, that brand, from 2000, 2004, somewhere in there. There was no interest.
When did you start doing the little lifesaver experiment?
Oh, back in the 90s. Early 90s. Nobody cared though. You know, it's clever, but nobody cared. It wasn't until socially we changed. We'd been telling kids for so long, don't try this at home. Not only in school as a science teacher, but just every show was don't try this at home. That when this little known website called YouTube was only 3 months old, it was September of 2005, and I was doing a TV bit, and the news anchor I work with got wet. She forgot to stand back fast enough, so she got drenched. And she did that 3 times. That's great live TV.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you capitalize on that quick little thing that your tummy tells you, I should probably do this. So we uploaded that video to a thing called YouTube, and it took off. That's what's finally solidified the deal to get the license agreement with Perfetti Van Mel, the people who own Mentos. They listened. We got a call from them, and they finally said, so, all right, what do you want?
So you've gone from science teacher to empire of toys and creations and science projects and training for teachers and other things. When did you make that transfer?
I think along the way. We had to do little pieces and little chunks along the way. And we had to do it because there was an opportunity. So just like telling you about the soda and the Mentos, there was an opportunity as I was teaching to see I could train other teachers to do what I was doing. Because sometimes the teacher down the hall who is going to make you a better teacher because she or he has been teaching much longer, they don't understand why your class is laughing, and it seems like there's a little bit more fun. And ultimately there's parents wanting to get their kids into your 4th grade class or whatever it was. And so what I learned was, instead of fighting them, because I'm going to have to work with them my entire career, why don't I just teach them how to do what I know how to do? And that's when that whole idea of training teachers to be more effective in the classroom really kind of took off for us. So we would hope that when people think of science and fun, or science and teacher, or you're thinking about those words, that they would go, oh, I saw that guy on YouTube, or I saw that guy on the Ellen Show, or whatever it was. And that's kind of where we come in as a way to be able to help solve a problem. I just want to make really good teachers even better.
When did you resign from being a teacher and build your empire? And I'm serious when I say empire, and it's a happy, it is a happy empire. This is the most creative guy.
2003 is when I retired after 11 years in the classroom. Retired, so to speak. Yeah.
So what do you do the most of right now in terms of, because you have a huge product line and you do a lot of training and speaking?
So our company is based out of Denver, Colorado, and of the 30 people that I'm so fortunate to work with, 28 of them work on the product side.
Yeah.
We develop products and learning materials, kits, Kid of the Month Club, that kind of stuff over there on that side. And there's 3 of us that work on the speaking side. So that's the part that's television and speaking and being able to do the training. My wife would tell you, since she's the president of the company, because you got to have somebody who's smart and focused and dedicated and not looking at shiny objects, and that's me. She would tell me that I come to work and it's my little fraternity every day. She says I have to have a way to let my creativity out, and I love more than life itself getting to talk to people, to be on stage, and that's where I'm most creative. And so I write the most notes when I step off of a training or I'm on the plane on my way home, because there's those ideas going, because I get to interact with you and I figured out what you need, and if I have something that you need and I can develop something around that, then that's great for both of us.
So what gives you the most joy, because you're in so many different markets and you're speaking and you're creating products, and give me some joy points.
I am 48 years old, and so I've been teaching for 25 years, and our business has been around for 25 years. And it gives me great joy when somebody says, my daughter became a scientist because she saw something you did in 1993. You don't even know this, but you came to her school, and she came to your summer camp. Or now we're getting people going, we found you online, and then we found your toys in Target. And I can't tell you how much my kid wasn't very excited about, but he's whipping the tablecloth off and he's doing the things, and you made science exciting for him. That's pretty special. Another joy moment is to see a teacher who's been teaching for 20 plus years, who wasn't all that excited, and see that person come away from a training after 2 or 3 days going, this is what it's all about. I forgot about that. You just helped remind me why I got into this in the first place. It's pretty special.
Yeah. When you go back to your childhood, were you the mad scientist as a kid? Were you taking the baking soda or something? I don't know anything about science.
You're doing the perfect, you have to be inspired by somebody. And my dad was a chemist by degree.
Okay.
My dad was also a professional magician.
Oh,
so we happen to see,
yes.
There's always an aha moment. I don't know if that's a good thing for people to know or bad, because sometimes they go, oh, now I get it, it makes sense. So I grew up in a family of professional magicians. My dad was a consultant, so some of the biggest names in magic in the 70s and early 80s came through our house. Very unknown, little known Jewish kid who was running around doing clubs and that kind of, I think his name is, David Copperfield, would come to my parents' house, because my dad had a little television studio in Denver, and he would practice and ask for help and coaching back then. And he knew he was going to be a big name. I'll never forget, 8 years old, him being in Denver going, someday I can't really be in the public because I'm going to know, everyone's going to know me. And I thought, as a kid, 8 years old, who is this guy? But I had this sense. So I was inspired by Mom and Dad. My dad invented the fake blood that the movie studios use in the 70s and 80s. So all the blood that Kiss, the rock group Kiss, all their blood, all the blood for Jaws, all the blood for Universal Studios and Paramount Pictures came from our home in Denver, Colorado. My mom mixed it up in blenders in the basement. So I'd have friends who would come over, and there were a dozen blenders in the basement, all with this blood.
And in the dungeon.
This is the coolest thing in the world. It was in the magic studio. And I had magicians that are around. And so growing up in that kind of environment was cool. And what I liked most is my dad had a magic school. And I love the fact that he taught, because magicians can't teach you the secret. I can show you how to make a coin disappear and my wallet to catch on fire, but I can't show you how it works if I'm a magician.
Right.
If I'm a teacher, I use that engagement technique to engage you, and then I go, do you want to learn? And you lean in and you go, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I use that same technique as a way to be able to say, this is an effective way for teachers to operate. On a very intellectual level as well. It doesn't have to be circus show. But if I can engage in a way that I can get you to take ownership, we could change the way you learn.
So as we look at you, I can see you performing with all these magicians, 8 years old, and your dad is teaching, so everything is you're him. But different.
I am.
I mean,
and very different. He became a corporate guy. So he was a corporate guy, information technology, Fortune 500 company. And I saw him pretty miserable when I was about 12 or 13 years old, going, this isn't for me. And he was very successful in the corporate world. And I remember him coming home, and I do remember the day that he sat at lunch. His office was close enough, and came home, and it was in the summertime. And he said to my mom, I don't like this anymore. And she said, why don't you quit your job? And that afternoon, he went in and quit. And we went to dinner that night, and as a family talked about that Dad quit, and that we're going to do our own thing now, and we're going to work at the house. And we all thought, how are you going to be? I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. And I don't think the word was big, at least. Well, probably it was back then, but I didn't get it. And I watched my mom and dad create something from nothing using their skills. And their skills in magic. And as world-class performers, they changed and said, how about we open a magic school and we'll be a teacher? So we could be home, we don't have to work the cruise circuit or work the country club circuit or something. We'll have the magicians come to us. This is what we talk about in lots of things that you and I are involved in. We hear that today in our sessions, and it's something I got to experience in the late 70s.
for your company, because you have 30 people or so, and you are just generous and fun, what kind of, and seeing that your dad was not having a good time with corporate, but you have this company, what are you doing differently to make sure that it's not that dread that he had to go through?
I'm trying to make sure that there's a sense of, I'm trying to make sure that the culture is such that people can feel like they can be creative and interact, but that's easier said than done. I'm not the world's greatest boss, and I could be trained to be a really great boss, but I don't want to be that. And so my wife is really, really good. And so she's the president of the company. People report to her. And I've had to learn what my position in the company is. I'm the Pied Piper. I'm very disruptive. And it's not to be trendy and say, I'm a disruptor. I'm not. I'm just really disruptive. I'll go down with a group of people in shipping and go, do you want to see me do this? Watch this. I'm working on this. And so next thing you know, you got this vortex ring thing shooting out, and I got something that showed up in the mail. And she has to remind me, our production numbers went down today, and our shipping numbers went down, and they didn't hit their 245 FedEx because you were messing around with them. I said, but it was fun. She goes, I know it's fun. We got a business to run here. And that's okay, because I had to learn. That was really hard for me, Jolene. It was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say you are, this probably would never happen, but maybe there's a day or two where you were not feeling creative, but you really had this goal to start brainstorming on a couple new products. How do you find that creativity?
We have a place in the office called the Playroom, and it's my place where I have my science demonstrations, my toys. It's a mess. I get to go to the Playroom. I get the luxury to be able to go into the Playroom or pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, you want to come over for a little while? It's almost like an adult play date. And I hate to say, and there's some people on the team that I'm allowed to do that with, and so I'll go pull them and go, we got to work on something. What do you think about this? And we do get to work. And sometimes you don't come up with that magical thing, but it's only when I play that I can really come up with this stuff. I can't just sit there behind a computer and say, well, I think this is what we're going to work on to build this electronics thing to make your body a human conductor of electricity. I can't do that. But if I'm playing, we always come up with something. Or I'll go to Carly, who's my manager, and go, I got to get a gig in front of a group of kids. So would you find me a gig, and just say yes to whatever it is. Or I'm still under contract with a school district in Colorado. I'll pick up the phone and go, I'm going to come into your class tomorrow.
So you're doing these focus groups, essentially.
In business, you would call it that. And for me, it's just a creativity starter. It's a chance for me to be in front of the people that make me creative and make me happy. And ultimately, my wife says, we have this business because it makes you happy. I think you've surrounded yourself because you love what you do. And if I can support that as your wife and as your business partner, and we can make money doing that and hopefully feed 30 families, that's a good thing too.
Wow, you have a large family.
Yeah.
Do you use your Facebook as like a little focus group? Because you have, what, 72,000?
Yeah,
fans?
people are very, very nice to jump in. I do. I use it as a testing ground. I get to see what people like and what they don't like and how they engage. And it's interesting to define, so if we're talking business, that's a very different audience. A Facebook audience for us is somebody between the age of 30 and 60. They possibly have children, a little extra income, maybe some disposable money. So for example, a product like my speaking and training would never do well on Facebook, but our Kid of the Month Club, where we make this promise that says if you give us $25 a month, I'll make sure that something shows up on your doorstep every month that will make your kid excited about learning.
My goodness, that is so exciting.
Done. So the Spangler Science Club was born, and it's silly, it's only 7 months old now, so we should say that we're in what, July of 2015. Hope I didn't date that for you, and it's okay, but I just did. But I'm very excited. I struggled with this a lot. We've had the hardest time getting this launched. A Kid of the Month is really, really hard to do, but for the first time in 25 years, I don't have people saying, so what's in the box? Like, what's this, and how much is this, and do I get 3 of those? Or they're just,
it's a grab bag.
It is, and I think they trust you. They go,
yeah.
I trust you to put whatever's in the box. It's supposed to be in the box. And if you say you're going to inspire my kid, we'll continue to vote with our dollars and make sure the credit card's there every month. And it makes me very happy that there's a sense of trust and a tremendous responsibility. We fight internally as to what goes in the box. And the business people on this side going, we have this much and here's the margin. And I'm sitting there going, come on, 3 more things. I want this little thing, and I need some more Alka-Seltzer because the kid's going to be mad. They go, okay, 3 more Alka-Seltzer, but you've got to do that. And it's that kind of, and I think that's what makes us a little bit different. We're not a corporation sitting there just for bottom line. We are a business. It has to be profitable. But there's that nice give and take.
There's Facebook with your 72,000 or so, I think. And then you have YouTube and Twitter. What are your followings on there, and what do you do with the different channels?
So Twitter is more of a, we always say that Facebook is people and Twitter is perspectives. And so a tweet might be something that's my voice. So if you're twitter.com/Steve Spangler, it's going to be a little bit different. That content will be different. It'll be more my perspective. People, when they interact with facebook.com/Steve Spangler, it's more of our company. Our company is Steve Spangler Science. And so they're interacting with that brand. YouTube, very, very different. So YouTube has about 165 million views on the 3 channels, but we divided it into some channels. And there's about 850,000 subscribers. And that's only because of being very focused in those areas. We found that people wanted to see science experiments. And so we put a channel out called Sick Science, because kids go, sick? He goes, that's sick. And you go, what's sick? And they go, that's cool. And you go, oh. So sick and cool. So Sick Science, and immediately in my mind I went, I got to keep that.
Is that, well, what grade is that then?
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Because you got any kid that goes, that's sick. And so the term Sick Science is one that I locked away, grabbed everything that I could around that, grabbed the circle R, everything. Because your tummy tells you, this is going to be good. I just don't know what to do with it. And then our video team started putting out videos, because I asked them to, that didn't have me in them. And they were just focused on the little demonstration on the table. So you couldn't see it wasn't me, it was just this torso. And they became immensely popular. So now all of a sudden, so now all of a sudden there's, if you go to Target today, you'll see our Sick Science kits in Target. And it was really born from these videos on YouTube, and people going, yeah, I want that. That's pretty cool. So there's that piece. There's stuff that we do on TV, and sometimes people subscribe to that. So if you just type in Steve Spangler to the search engine with YouTube, it'll give you the different things that we're doing out there. But I think the key here is that we had to divide it up so that we're not blasting people with something they don't want. If you don't want to see my Sick Science videos, then you don't subscribe to that channel. You might want another channel. I think it's really important for any type of communication that we have, is we're just make sure that you're reaching. Can you imagine this podcast going out, or this video going out to, I don't know, a group of people that have no interest in this at all, and you just keep on hitting them? Of course they're going to unsubscribe.
Right.
So it seems like it's business 101. It's sometimes hard when in the heat of the moment going, let's pump out another video.
Yeah, they must love it.
So excited. Well, they're not. But the people who are excited are raving fans, and they'll help grow your herd.
So when you go back, let's see, hold on, I think I lost my question. Oh, yes, you manage a lot of different things, or you play in a lot of things, and your wife manages. Let's talk about you. Because you have so many things going on, or are excited and curious, how do you manage your day? Or who manages for you? How do you start the day?
So I have a wonderful lady by the name of Carly Reed, who's my manager. Carly's been with me for 11 years. And I found her, she was in our customer service team. She was on that team years ago, and you could just see, she would be great. She represents herself well. And so Carly really is tasked with making sure that she's the first line of never defense. She's the first line of opportunity when people pick up the phone and call, or they try to make some sort of contact. Somebody going, could you come to my birthday party? I don't do that. But there has to be a human being who is pleasant on the other side saying, you know what, Steve doesn't do that, but I have somebody in Denver who I could at least recommend. So there's that piece of it, and so Carly manages that. Personally, you wake up and there's certain things during the week that you know that are going to happen. I maintain a contract with the NBC affiliate out of Denver called KUSA, and I've been with NBC in one way or another for almost 24 years. And with this latest station with 15 years, we just passed our 1,000th live segment. Isn't that crazy? So 1,000 times the red light came on for live TV, and we had to do something. And you know what that forces you to do?
You've got to. Wow.
You have to. And they won't invite you anymore. And so that opportunity that started in 2000, 2001, somewhere in there, so it took us that much time to kind of rack up that 1,000. That's just dedication. That's just every week the light comes on, and every week you have to find something that will be relevant to news viewers. This is a station that's number 16 in the market. So that's a top 20 station in the country, and they have a 4 o'clock news program. They have a 6 a.m. news program. Very, very lots of eyeballs that are on that program, and what they're trying to do is to have a human interest piece. And over that time, it's just kind of picked up, and people have said, we like this science guy that does these things. And so that forces me to come up with material. So I guess where I'm going with the whole thing is, that's just like forcing yourself to go to the gym in the morning, or forcing yourself to eat right, or I just know that whatever happens on Monday, that red light's going to come on, and I got to be ready for it.
Well, going back to your day, so do you get up early, get late? Do you go through a journal, or do you just...
I have 3 boys in the house. I have a 16-year-old, I have twin 13-year-olds, and it's really special for me to get to take them to school. So my 16-year-old he can drive to high school, so I miss that nowadays. But I still get to take my boys to either elementary or now middle school. So start my day with that, because it's a really good way to start the day. And then come in a quick little team meeting with our speaking team, just to see what happened for the day. Is there anything from a social standpoint we need to respond to? And then there's some deadlines with products and with all the other pieces that are there. But I'm so fortunate to have a team of people that can manage that day-to-day kind of piece, so that I can take a look at it and say, what can I do today that will help the company in some way? Is there a branding opportunity? Is there a speaking event? Those are the things that I get to focus on. How are we growing this? What's our major initiative? Our Kid of the Month Club was a major initiative. And it's really important that I write it, because if that voice is going to be consistent, I can't just turn it over to somebody. So there's a lot of writing now of product, and I haven't done that in a couple of years, so that's great. But there is that piece of it. And I think I had somebody very special tell me, seek understanding before being understood. And I wasn't that kind of person before. I'd kind of go into a meeting and go, it's my company, so they expect me to give them the answer. And I realized that we have some really qualified people around the table that have some great ideas that are different than mine. And if I seek understanding first, if I go, you know what, tell me a little bit more about that. You don't want to put this in the box anymore? Tell me why is that a good idea? They start to talk, and all of a sudden, before I give you this is the way it's going to be, because they know I can veto it and go, no, we are going to put that in. I get to understand them. I'm not good at it yet. I'm working on it. So ask me in a couple of years. Ask my wife in a couple of years. Steve getting better at that, and she'll tell you.
I will. So what's next for you? So you've got the kids club going. What's next on the schedule?
We're working on doing more teacher training in Colorado. What we're finding is our evaluations, we've been really effective when we take a group of people and say, what if I spend a little bit of time with you? So more than just, I'll sell you a product, but what if you and I get to talk and we get to train a little bit together? And so our trainings have been very valuable to me. We just came off the summertime with a cruise to Alaska. We take teachers on a cruise called Science at Sea. Take 120 teachers. We partnered with Holland America, and we cruised the Inside Passage of Alaska. And the reason why is I don't teach life science. So it forced me to get out of this physical science thing and to go find somebody who was like me, and I think shared some of those same passion values and was willing to plant that passion. And I found him, and I said, let's do this together. And so I'm gonna be on your cruise, and our team, and we get to control the experience and hopefully make it something you'll never forget. But I get to see the wonder in those teachers' eyes when we're in the Inside Passage of Alaska, and in turn it fuels me. And so those kinds of opportunities. We just came off of 3 days in Colorado called Science in the Rockies. And these are teachers from all over the world that come to us in Denver, and I can train them the best when they're with our team. So those 30 people who I trust implicitly to create this experience, instead of having to me just go on the road and try to tell them about it, they actually get to experience our people in Colorado. So we're doing more of those activities, more of those kinds of opportunities. We're growing that Kid of the Month Club. We really want to get that in. I think I can make the biggest change in education in the United States anyway, by helping parents get involved. Many of them want to be involved, they don't know how. And who would ever thought that a little kit that is designed in such a way to be respectful to parents' time, but also to allow them to be a part of the process, could possibly plant these seeds that we won't know will come true for a long time. So I'm banking a career and maybe a life. At the end of my life, who knows if it will be done. But it'd be neat someday if somebody said, you know what, I went into science because this guy I saw.
Oh, it's happening. It is happening.
That would be very special to me, and I think it's there's purpose behind that passion.
Yes, and I'm not normally interested in science, but I see some of these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, turn your water green on St. Patrick's Day, and all these crazy things. I'm interested.
Funny how it works, huh?
Yeah. What are all your properties? Where can we find your properties, or is there one place where we can find all this?
This is another thing in the process. Isn't it funny how you create and you put all these things out there and people say I'm confused. So kind of the main spot, if you're looking for products and kits and all those other things, you'll go to stevespanglerscience.com. That's our online e-commerce platform. stevespangler.com is kind of more the speaking training side. Let me help you be a better teacher in the classroom, or talk to you about engagement if you're a corporation. And spanglerscienceclub.com is for all those people who are out there going, I think I'd like to have this on my front porch. And I'll trust him, and let's see what happens.
That is a great gift, sorry to interrupt, too late, for like grandparents to get for their kids.
It's fun.
That is so fun.
It is fun. And it's one of those things that you can vote with your dollars by saying, I don't want that anymore. But we say be careful. If you give us 3 months, I bet you I got you for a year.
Yeah.
Because the kids, we think that it's 25 years of knowing what to put in the box. So it's not what's in there, it's knowing what to put it and how to craft it in such a way that when they open it up, the experience just grows and grows until finally, if they're doing it at the dinner table and impressing you, I've told teachers for years, if it gets to the dinner table, you win. If the experience, not the activity or handout, but the worksheet, right? If the experience you created was so great during the day that kids talk about it at the dinner table, you win as a teacher. It's our rubric. Right? It's our standard, our metric. The same thing happens with Kid of the Month Club. If those kids are so excited that they're doing the activity and can hardly wait to show somebody who comes over, or they stick it in their backpack and take it to school, now we're creating an experience. And when you create experiences, that's emotional, and people make changes in their life because of what they feel in their heart.
And they're becoming presenters and sharing and building their community. Then they'll be a speaker.
And that's the difference between a science guy and somebody who's trying to add an emotional component
and
to
empower
it.
them.
And nobody's talking about that. We have the STEM movement that's out there right now, science, technology, engineering, and math. Love it, but I've always been bothered by it because it never incorporated the piece called, but how do I get to communicate that? And they go, well, you just do, it's a paper or whatever. There's nobody who's been inspired really, maybe, but not me, who's been inspired by reading a white paper on this piece. But when a kid shares his science project or her science project, that's communication. So STEAM is that new kind of phrase, science, technology, engineering, arts. And, and when you think of arts, don't think of arts and crafts. And I just want you to think of communication in the heart. And so when some kid comes to you as a teacher and says, this was the best day of my life ever. You go, it was just Alka-Seltzer in a film canister. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But the kid, you created an experience.
Yes.
And it's very different than a lesson. And that's what happens when you start thinking outside of just the facts. And you start tying into what's in here. And you go, this is why you should do this. If you like this, this is why you should help solve the problem that we have with water in third world countries.
The man with heart, very creative. Thank you,
Very
Steve
nice.
Spangler.
Thank you.